what's the Motorcycle Riders Foundation been doing? What have we been doing? What did we do with all of our activities? What have we been talking about at NCOM, at NCOC, at all of the state road shows, which we go to? What do we do for bikers side the Beltway? So in 2023, when I talked about the internal combustion engines and they're trying to take them away from us, well, we're not going to just sit back and let that happen. So in 2023, we had two separate bills passed the United States House of Congress, House of Representatives. You'll see the numbers. This is a little bit donkey and elephant, so I don't mean to offend anybody, but I'll talk about how we get to where we get to, okay? So, preserving choice in vehicles. That's very simply saying California can't thrust their standards on the rest of the United States. California Air Resources Board cannot tell the rest of the country how to behave, right? So that's the bill went through. Now you'll see 222 to 190, okay? That would suggest we had 8 or 9 from one party join all the other party. But it passed, okay? The House of Representatives. 4468, very similar, called the CARS Act. Those guys have a lot of fun sitting around making up goofy names to call things. It is easier to remember the CARS Act than HH 4468, choice in automobile retail sales. Okay, so this prevents the EPA from mandating emission requirements that puts internal combustion engines out of the realm of possibility. Okay, so this one says, right, California cannot make their own standards and thrust them on the rest of the country. This says EPA can't mandate emissions so tight you can't build a vehicle. Notice the numbers, 221 to 197. All of one party, a couple of another party, but it passed. So, great news, great work, there's hope, except the Senate, 2090, same is this, S2090 is this, and S3094 is this. Same version, same language, same everything. We took them across the House after they passed. Federal House of Representatives, 435 members. We took it to the Senate, 100 members, same bills. Two issues. One, 2090, Senate 2090, this one only has 17 co-sponsors. So let's say it's roughly 50-50, 51-49, whatever it is in the United States Senate, pretty split. In this case, in the House, one party almost exclusively voted 100% to pass this and 100% to pass this. In the Senate, we've only got 17 of that same party saying it's something we should do. And then in this bill, preventing EPA from doing stuff, we have 34. That's fairly respectable. Usually you figure you need about half. In the House of Representatives, to get something to really move, half of one party. So you need about 100 people in the House to get anything moving. And in the Senate, we figure about 25-ish. Co-sponsors, senators that stand up and say, I'll support that, I'll vote for it, I'll push it. Here we're too short. 2090, we haven't made it. We don't have enough to get this to even move. This one we do, okay? Senate 3094, where we restrict the EPA, we have enough to get it moving. We could use 40, 45, but there's hope. There's hope in that half the elected body understands it. The other half doesn't yet. So when we're at Bikers Side the Beltway in a week and a half, what do you think one of the main things we're going to talk about is? We're going to go to everybody who isn't one of these 17 and everybody who isn't one of these 34, and we're going to tell them again what it's about and why we need their support. We're not going to get 100. Okay, this isn't like profiling where we're 100 to 0. If it's 52, I'll take it. If it's 60, I'll take it. But this has become, and I don't understand, well, I do understand why, it's unfortunate, this has become a very partisan issue. Vehicle choice, internal combustion engines, for some reason has become partisan. A donkey and elephant thing, and it shouldn't, right? If you live in a state that has gas and oil, or you live in a state where they make cars, to me, that's a pretty simple decision. If you're voting to support your constituents, the people that elected you, This should not be a donkey and elephant thing. This should be looking out for the best interest of the people that vote for you, looking out for the economy in the state that you come from. But it's become donkeys and elephants. Okay, next. Part 2. So, after the EPA announced the final new emission rules, right, it gave us more concern because they got tighter, they got more restrictive. So, what else have we done? We're not giving up. So those first 2 bills, we got passed in the House, we're not moving them in the Senate, but what do? We can continue to work the same bill over and over and over. However, we're gonna throw another one at them. So, House Resolution 136, that's a resolution, okay? Resolutions have quite a bit more pull at the federal level than you do in the state, right? So if there's a federal resolution that passed, we can do a couple things with it. We can often turn a resolution, although it has no legal teeth, we can turn that into a bill, but more importantly, we encourage it to become something the states can use. So why do we do a profiling resolution? So the states can take that exact language, can take the momentum from the federal level and turn it into a state bill. So in this case, we've got 2 things going on. One, we want to turn this into a federal bill, but as importantly, we want to make sure this makes it down into the states and they take legislative activity. Thank God for Ohio, right, who put in their constitution that they can't restrict the ability to buy an internal combustion engine. 49 other states could do that. So on May 1st, we had this represented. So what it says, right, Congressional Review Act, we're saying that the EPA can't do that. They don't have the authority. Congress makes laws. Federal agencies can't make laws. Right? They're supposed to act on what Congress tells them to do. In this case, the EPA has gone out, just went crazy and started making rules that are going to make it impossible to build an internal combustion engine. They can't do that, but they are. So we've got to stop them from doing it. So this resolution came out on May 1st. What's today? May 11th? 11. Okay, so in 11 days, 117 people said, you're right, the EPA shouldn't be making laws, they should just be enacting rules based on what Congress tells them. So we're trying to tell them to slow their roll and stay in their lane, right? They're out of their lane. Get back in your lane, do your job, okay? Senate Resolution 75, introduced on May, this is more impactful. Getting 117 out of 435, well, that's awesome. Look at this one. In a week and a half, 48 senators have publicly signed a piece of paper saying we agree the EPA shouldn't be able to do what they're doing. It's only a resolution, but in a week and a half of the Senate has said, almost half, has said that's not okay. So we'll play it. We'll try to get a couple hundred here, and we'll try to get 60, 70 here, and then we'll take that. First off, we'll send it home to the states to say, Senate has said the EPA can't do what they do, protect it in your own state. California, stop doing what you're doing. Sorry if you're from California, it's not personal, it's just business. And then we'll go for a law. So how do we then, if the Congress, if we can say 250, 300 members of Congress pass a resolution saying the EPA can't do this, right? They make rules, they don't make law. They don't make policy, they make rules, okay? That's not okay. And it's hard for them if they say all 300 people said EPA can't do that. When we want to go from a resolution to a bill or a law, they can't go back and say, well, I wasn't serious, right? We can use that, right? We can throw flip-flops at them and all kinds of stuff. We can mail them flip-flops, and all you guys from California, give me some flip-flops, we'll put them in the mail and send them to the guys that supported the resolution, but they won't support a bill, right? So there's strategy here, right? Okay? So that's what's coming. So you can better believe we'll be pushing on the 2 Senate bills that haven't moved, telling CARB to stop and telling EPA to stop. And then this one tells EPA to behave. You can better believe that that'll be heavy, heavy, heavy on our agenda. So we will visit 535 offices. Let me say that again. we will visit 535 political offices and 5 federal agencies on May 21st. May 21st. I think there's about 40 states in attendance, and if your state's not in attendance, they're gonna get me. So if you don't come, instead of you representing yourself for your state, I'm gonna do it. Or someone like me is gonna do it. Eric Ross might do it, Seven might do it, but we'll hit every office in Washington, D.C. And these will be big front and center stuff we're gonna work on. Hit me, man. Motorcycle Advisory Council. This one's frustrating for me, but we had a Motorcycle Advisory Council during Bush. Established a Motorcycle Advisory Council. What is that? That's a bunch of motorcycles from around the country that are mandated to meet. FDOT, Federal Department of Transportation, has to meet with a group of motorcyclists that are appointed to represent motorcycles from around the country. And we sit down with DOT, and that's where we can talk about cable barriers. Paint, the type of paint they use. You'll notice the paint's slippery today. It didn't used to be slippery. They're putting big chunks of steel, like when they're doing bridges, right? You go across a big chunk of steel that's 8 or 10 feet long. Is that slippery? Yeah, that's like an ice cube, okay? So that's where we tell engineers, they don't have a clue what they're doing, and I'm an engineer, so I mean that in all respect. When they're putting in cable barriers, they've never heard what it does to a motorcyclist. They don't know what slippery paint does. They don't know when they make a roundy round and they slope it up instead of down. They don't know what that does to a motorcyclist. They're not motorcyclists. So we mandated, Congress said, we agree, when we're building roads and we're spending your tax dollars to build roads, you should be included in what motorcyclists need to be safe. Okay? Sounds reasonable. Doesn't cost any money. 4 times a year we go to DC, we sit down and we talk about stuff. And the bill was written that it's a national, and we're smarter than we look sometimes. The language in the original bill said a National Motorcyclist Foundation. How many are there of those? One. An American Motorcyclist Association. How many of those are there? One. A motorcycle industry, National Motorcycle Industry Group, which is the Motorcycle Industry Council, a National Motorcycle Safety Group, Motorcycle Safety Foundation. So all of the national entities involved in motorcycle safety and motorcyclist rights are represented by language, and then we picked 2 state motorcycle rights organizations. Ohio's been on it, Florida's been on it, South Dakota's been on it, and we've taken a new we're taking applications now for additional folks. Right now, we're trying to get Jay Jackson and somebody from Wisconsin. There's been about 10 people apply. We're heavily pushing Jay Jackson. He's the executive director of Biddy, Indiana. He's the vice president of MRF. There's not a person in the United States of America that knows more about motorcycle safety than Jay Jackson. He's got to be on it, okay? So, during Barack Obama's age, he said we're stopping all charters, we're stopping all of these kind of advisory groups, we're done, we don't need them, we don't want them. Don't know why. Cost, complexity, didn't want citizens telling him what to do, I don't know. But he abolished it. So since he left, so that's now 7 years, we've been going back to that original bill saying we got to redo this. We as motorcyclists need to tell the Federal Department of Transportation the concerns we have about how we design roads, et cetera, et cetera. So here we are, December 20, so it actually passed in 2022. If I look at a calendar, it's 2024. So it took several years to get the Motorcycle Advisory Council reestablished in the federal government. And then when we did it, NHTSA and the Federal Department of Transportation didn't like it. They threw a fit. We hurt their feelings because they told us no and we told them yes and we won. So it took them 2 years to even open it up and say, who do we have? Well, you got one AMA, you got one MRF, you got one MIC, you got one MSF, and then they decided in December 23 to take applications for the other 2 positions. So we're getting really, really, really close. We will remind politicians that ask Department of Transportation to seat the MAC. We're going to remind those folks that fought for us 5, 6, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago, to make sure that this was seeded and active. So we're gonna remind them that Federal Department of Transportation is still thumbing their nose at you. The council hasn't been formally seated and it's not active, even though in 2022 you told them to make it active, okay? So that will be on our agenda. It's important. It's not the most important thing we do, but it's important, right? We all ride on roads. And if they design the roads wrong and they put stuff to make us fall down or help us fall down, we don't need that. We can fall down on our own. All right? Go. Thank you. Right to repair, talked about that this morning, right? The right to repair. I don't want to go to Harley Davidson. I love Harley Davidson. I'll publicly say it. I love their motorcycles. I have a garage full. I love them. I don't love the company. I love the product. Okay? I don't want to go to Harley Davidson. I don't need to go to Harley Davidson. They want me to go to Harley Davidson. I want to go to my independent aftermarket shop. That's where I want to go. That's who I am. That's where I want to go. And I want those 4,000 shops. Used to be 12,000 a decade ago. Where Joey left, but they communicate with shops just like we do. We used to have 12,000 independent motorcycle shops in the United States. Today we have 4,000. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of knowledge. That's a lot of even safety. Keeping good, safe, well-running motorcycles on the road. Because I've seen guys try to do tune-ups and change tires that probably shouldn't be taking a fork out of the drawer without supervision. Okay? So we need those guys. Okay? So right to repair, we're going to continue to push that. We've fixed right to repair 2 or 3 times. And every time we fix it, they come around again. So John Deere, anybody a farmer in the room? I am? Well, not anymore. I grew up on one. John Deere. Can you fix your own John Deere? Nope. You lease the operating unit of a John Deere tractor. So you're going to pay $500,000 for a tractor and a service fee and a service call and wait 3 months for them to show up. You can't fix the tractor you own. That's a problem. Okay? What happens when Harley Davidson's the only place in the world that can mess with your ignition system? Right to repair is important. Along with right to repair, we talk the same language, right to modify. I want to get the parts. I want to be able to go to an independent shop to get my bike fixed, and I want to get the parts that they need or I need to put on that bike. Right to repair, right to modify are married in our eyes. We introduced that in 2023. We're not making very much headway. A lot of lobby. There's OEM guys, car dealerships make a lot of money fixing cars. They don't want the aftermarket guys. John Deere doesn't want the aftermarket guys. Certain motorcycle manufacturing companies don't want aftermarket shops, right? They want it all. And they're struggling to stay in business too, I get that. I do. I don't care, but I get it. Okay? So, this is the key part, and this is where we're getting politicians to hopefully pay attention. Parts, tools, and information. If somebody spends $1 bazillion making an engine, I'm not asking for the ability to make that engine. Give me the computer, let me plug into it, let me find out what's wrong, give me the tools to fix it, and give me the parts to fix it. Pretty reasonable. I own it, I bought it, I spent my hard-earned money to get it, I should be able to access to everything I need, whether it's me or it's my local shop, okay? We have 52 co-sponsors. We need over 100 on this to make it go. So I need us, when we're in Bikers Side the Beltway in a week and a half, we have got to make headway on this one. We've got to make this move, right? So what are we doing? We're gonna go in the office and say, here's the history, here's the reason, here's my personal story on why this is important to me, whether my buddy's running a shop or I fix my own stuff, this has to happen for me, right? We make it personal, right? It has to be personal, right? So this will be big. It was approved by the House Subcommittee on Innovation, Data, and Commerce. So the committee responsible for this stuff, right to repair type stuff, has said, we do agree with you, we see your issue. So now it becomes our job, not my job, our job, to make 52 hopefully become 150, 175, 200, and fix this thing once and for all. Next. Autonomous vehicles, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one because Ed's going to talk on autonomous vehicles for hours. His next seminar is like 9 hours, so be sure.
Yeah.
I'm kidding, right? We have concerns, okay? The deputy secretary of NHTSA, it says NHTSA official, she was #2 in charge at NHTSA. In a meeting, Jay Jackson, again, myself, and Rocky Fox were in a meeting with NHTSA, and we said, what do you guys think about self-driving? Because there's multiple levels. There's assisted driving, there's regulated driving, there's autonomous driving, and there's no people driving, right? Completely autonomous. There's various, and we don't understand, we being the community, not us. I think we do understand. But there's folks that don't necessarily understand those just because your car doesn't go out of the lane without turning your signal on, that's not a self-driving autonomous car. A Tesla can be autonomous. It shouldn't be. And the manual says you can't do it that way, but when a motorcyclist gets killed, like the one 2 weeks ago, the guy had his hands off the wheel, head down, looking at his phone, watching a movie, didn't even hit the brakes. Car didn't hit the brakes. Took him out. That's not okay. This is a quote. Believe me, I almost tattooed this on my neck. It's very dangerous for motorcycles to be around Teslas. That's the #2 person in the United States of America tasked with the safety of people on the highways in this country. She got it. No, I think it's political. I don't think she likes that Musk guy. But I could care less if it's a Tesla or a Hyundai or a Kia or a Ford Expedition. I don't care what it is. They shouldn't be able to do it until they can prove to me it's safe. That's all we're asking. We will have autonomous vehicles at some point in time. We will have fully self-driving vehicles at some time. But you gotta prove to me we're ready for it. We are not ready for it. Government knows we're not ready for it. Even California, they got this one right. They went to the crews and said, you can't run these in our state, they're not safe. Okay? That's all I'm asking. I'm not trying to dictate or mandate technology. They need to be safe when they're around us. You need to prove it to us that we can be safe, we can operate, that they can operate around us. And we're also, behind the scenes a little bit, working with the media. You see this statement, actively working to educate consumers and media that advanced driver systems are not self-driving and drivers must remain engaged in the driving task. What does that big sentence mean? Do you see the Ford Expedition commercial? Is it McConaughey? Yeah, he's playing patty cake. Hands off the wheel, playing patty cake, looking at his kids in the back seat. That's what that means. It's no wonder that consumers who have attention spans about the length of a butterfly are seeing commercials. Ford Expedition, you can drive it down the road and play patty cake. Where in that? That's not remaining engaged, that's not remaining in control. The guy that was watching a movie and smacked into the back of the motorcyclist at 60 miles an hour without hitting a brake, and the car didn't hit the brake, killed the guy. That's not in control and that's not paying attention. But automakers, and I pick on Ford only because I have that vehicle. That's what I drive, is a big Ford Expedition. So I'm mad about Ford. About traded it in and sold it because I got so mad the first 10 times I saw the commercial. And I've written to Ford many times. NHTSA is now taking some responsibility and going to those car makers and saying, stop putting that stupid stuff on TV. The front page of your manual says stay in control. Eyes on the road, in control of vehicles at all times. It's in the first 1 or 2 pages of every a Tesla or a Ford or whatever. But then on TV they put a stupid commercial on that says, well, I really don't have to. Or you don't have to, okay? So coming back, make sure the manufacturers can prove to us that those vehicles are safe, that we can safely operate a motorcycle around us, they sense us, they see us, and make sure that the automakers and OEMs are responsible in the message that they send in their silly commercials, okay? So making a lot of headway. This is hard to argue, right? If we can prove that autonomous driving or improperly driven vehicles are running us over, it's not a real hard sell for a politician to say, geez, that's not right. The issue is that the federal government is years behind where they need to be. technology's gone, it's out of the box, it's running rampant down the road. And now government has to rein it back in. And guess what? Ford has a lot of money. The automakers have a lot of money. Their lobbyists get paid a little bit more than our lobbyists. I can tell you they get paid a lot more than me. I make 7 figures, they're just all zeros, okay? So, we're up against some powerhouses. Tesla, the guy's a nut job, okay? So, we're up against those kind of people. They're gonna do whatever they want, because they think they can. And they have a lot of money that backs them up that says they can. So that's a big deal for us. Come to the next seminar, and we'll give you more inside baseball. Next. Motorcycle profiling. Never done with motorcycle profiling. If you were here this morning, you heard my personal story. It is personal for me. I was profiled, my motorcycle was taken away from me. And it took me a long time, back when I didn't have the resources to get it back. It's personal. So, obviously, we restricted the funding in the omnibus bill that passed just at Christmas, right around Christmas time, 2022, that restricted NHTSA from spending any money to profile motorcyclists, right? We got the 2 resolutions. If I didn't say it once before, 12 times already, 100 to 0 in the Senate, 431 to 0 in the House of Representatives. There are 4 vacancies, 535 to 0. Can't profile motorcyclists, we know what's happening, it's not right, stop doing it, okay? Now what do? We've got 6 states, 5.9 states that have passed actually laws to prohibit profiling, or at least educate law enforcement on what profiling is and why they shouldn't do it, okay? That's 6. My opinion, we should have 50. And I stand up here embarrassed that I come from a powerful state. Beta, Wisconsin, a powerful state, one of the biggest SMROs in the United States. And we can't pass it in my own state. It's embarrassing. So, believe me, and there's 2 of us on the board there, we'll fix it. We have to fix it. If we can't come up and say 535 dingbats in Washington, D.C. all got together and could understand and see the problem, the Congress creators unanimously saw the problem and said, we'll resolve that we should stop that. We in our own states have got to do something with that. Take the MPP profiling survey. We'll continue every time we walk into Washington, D.C., we will have profiling data to hand out to our politicians so that they can't backdoor us and figure out another way to come back at us, because to me that's important. What are we doing? We got one more thing we're doing, we're not done. So Susie Lee, Russell's second wife, that's a bad rumor, I could start there. Representative Susie Lee loves Russell. I don't know why. She loves Russell. She'll do whatever Russell says. And Russell went in and said, and she's from a party that's not been particularly supportive of motorcycling, and that's certainly a general statement. She's been a champion. In fact, we awarded her our champion, MRF Champion of the Year award last year because of the work she's done for us. She went to NHTSA and said, okay, we've said as a body, all of Congress, Senate and House, profiling's not okay, stop doing it, in a resolution. And then they defunded in the omnibus bill, the big budget bill that runs the country, they said NHTSA can't spend money, your tax dollars, my tax dollars, on profiling of motorcycles federally. Your state can do it, you gotta stop it, okay? And Susie Lee said, and I want a report, and one member of Congress can tell a federal agency to do something, to give them a report. So Susie Lee, Congresswoman Susie Lee said, I want to know how many funds you've spent profiling motorcyclists in the past, and are you still doing it? Prove it you're not. Well, I can tell you, we don't have this report. It was supposed to be done in 2023. Last time I checked, it's May of 2024. They're 4.5 months late. You want to tick off a politician who doesn't like a federal agency to flip them off? That's what NHTSA's done. NHTSA's flipping this lady off. She's a pretty tough lady. So guess what happens? The next time they go to the omnibus bill and NHTSA wants $1 bazillion to do whatever they do, guess who's going to say, you get nothing. You didn't do your job. So we have that leverage to go to NHTSA, and we will, heavily, a week and a half, and say, hey, you're ignoring a congressional directive from Congresswoman Susie Lee. You can't do that. We want this report. Now, I suspect when a report is given quickly, it's clean. When we get a report that takes 6 months longer than it should, what do you think we find? A little bit of nefarious activity, and they spend a little bit of time scrubbing it. Well, that's really not this, we're gonna put it over here, and this really wasn't that, it really was this, and they'll categorize a bunch of stuff. Well, we've been doing this, and I say this seriously, we have been doing this longer than most politicians. We've been in this game, MRF's 40 years. NCOM, 39. We've been doing this a while. There are politicians that have been in for 40 years, and it's a little scary. There's a tunnel between the House of Representatives side and the Senate side, and the number of dudes in wheelchairs, and there's a little train that runs between the House and the Senate, and the number of people that can't walk, can't see, can't get from one side of the House out to the United States Capitol, there's a lot of them. Can't do it on their own. Those are the guys running our country. So maybe they've been here for 40 years. But most haven't. So we have been doing this for 40 years. So when NHTSA comes with a scrubbed report that took 6 months, we're already suspicious, right? Our interest is very piqued, and we'll scrub that report. And if they've taken stuff out and tried to hide stuff, disguise stuff, we'll probably find it. And we've got members of Congress that'll help us find it because they don't like NHTSA either, right? In some cases, some love NHTSA, some don't like NHTSA. So we, of course, work with the ones that don't like them. And we'll find it out. So in a week and a half, we're going to be sitting down with NHTSA saying, you haven't done what you said. Where's the report? We want it. You've been told to get it. And Russell and Fast Fred from Nevada, I guarantee you will be in Susie Lee's office saying, how do you like NHTSA flipping you off? And I'm pretty sure that's the word that they may use. Well, Fred will use a word I can't say. Right. Because I have a little Jesus with me. So I can't say the word that Russell or that Fred will say. Russell will say flip you off. Fred will say something else that I can't say in public, okay? But this is important, right? For a couple reasons. One, I want to know what NHTSA is doing, but more importantly, we need to establish that if we work our tails off and we get a member of Congress to jump on a federal agency and directs their work and they ignore them, well, if we let them ignore them this time, it's going to be easier for them to ignore them next time, right? So whether this is the absolute most important thing we ever do doesn't matter. Making NHTSA comply and do what they're supposed to do is important because we'll need to do this again. So we have to follow through. We're going to put our shoulder into it, burn up some poker chips to make sure that NHTSA behaves this time because next time it might be even more important than this time. Okay? So road show. So if your state is not colored yellow, call 7, call Russell, and say, hey, come visit us. Seriously, we put a lot of time in what we're doing today. We do this all over the country. I don't care. I've given the speech I gave this morning. I've given this workshop. I'll do it in front of 4 people. I don't care. I'll do it in front of 1,000 people. I don't care. I'll go to Europe. I'll do it. Point is, we put a lot of time and effort into making sure everybody understands what we're doing and why we're doing it. Right? This exact stuff. This morning we talked about what the risk is, why we need to be unified, why we need to fight, why we need to engage, and then what we just did now, going through all of the bills, the laws, what we're going to work on in a week and a half, proving that we're doing what we say we do. We have bill numbers. We have sponsors. We have people coming to DC. We have people working back in their own states. We will fix this stuff. This is where we tell people what we do, or what we say, we do. And a call for help. 34 co-sponsors aren't enough. 117 co-sponsors aren't enough. The only way we get them is us. Phone calls, answering our calls to action, becoming a member of some organization somewhere, attending this event. asking us to come to your state and make these presentations. I don't care if it's a confederation meeting, a coalition meeting, an alliance meeting, a summit between clubs and SMROs, State Motorcycle Rights Organization, I don't care. We'll find somebody. We have about 15 people on our board that travels around the country and can give this same presentation. Not as good as, no, I'm kidding. But there's a lot of people, right? So last week we had someone in Portland, Oregon, we had someone in Arizona, and we had somebody in Texas on the same weekend. So if we're invited, in Florida, I've been there a couple times. I'll go a couple more if it helps, okay?
That's the beaches.
Yeah, well, I had a place down there. Rumor is that you can ride a motorcycle year-round, which I live there and you can't, but that's okay. They say that. And if we need to go twice, we will. But if you're in this room and your state's not red or orange,
Yellow.
this color, call us. Rick lives in the north. Rick lives down here. We got a board member that lives here and here and here and
Colorado.
and here and here and here, okay, and here and here. So what is that? We can get to places, okay? So if you want help, we need help. Call us. We'll come. We'll have these conversations, okay? Next. And we didn't color Alaska yet. We've done Alaska even, okay. I keep saying I'll go to Hawaii and no one invites me. It's interesting, the only state in the United States that doesn't have a state motorcycle rights organization. The other 49 have active motorcycle communities. For whatever reason, this one not. And the Doobie Brothers live there and they all ride motorcycles. So we're gonna try to start a Doobie's Brother Club or something. Next. So what are we working on? To summarize, this is the big summary page. This is the takeaway. Profiling. Looking for NHTSA to report what they're doing. And it's another way for us to make sure that all the members of Congress are fully aware, and don't forget that profiling is a paramount issue for us, right? What did I say this morning? Where I want, on what I want, with who I want, wearing what I want, when I want. Profiling is about all of those, okay? Autonomous vehicles, continue to work with IIHS. They're the organization that's looking at whether vehicles are safe or not. We'll continue to work with NHTSA. IIHS is more of a partnership, okay? And I can't believe I'm saying that out loud because we have fought, like physically almost fought IIHS when they come out and say helmets will save 1 billion lives. They have no way of knowing that unless they're a little Jesus. And they're not. They don't know. They have no idea. If we put a helmet on every motorcycle in the United States, how many people might get saved? I say none. That's my opinion. They say all of them. Somewhere in the middle, I don't know. I don't care. Okay? But in this case, we are with IIHS. If they want to test all those vehicles and smash them up, the more they smash, the less they can hit me with. But let them smash them up and prove to me which ones are safe. And you heard Ed will tell you, I don't mean to steal your thunder, Ed, but you got to follow me, so it sucks to be you. There's a vehicle, right? One that's marginally okay. All of the other self-driving, assisted driving vehicles are not okay at this time. So we will continue to work with IIHS to get that list. The MAC we talked about, I want it seated. I want our people seated. I want us as motorcyclists telling the federal government what happens when they put slippery paint on the road, or they angle the runoffs at the roundabouts wrong, or they get the dumb idea to put the crocodile teeth to keep people in their lane. How stupid is that? How to put posts this tall in the middle of the road. How stupid is that? All European stuff, but it's coming here, right? We need to talk to them. Next. Internal combustion engines, 1435, 4468 passed. House of Representatives, Senate hasn't done a darn thing. Gotta fix that. Right? Gotta tell CARB, California Air Resources Board, they shouldn't get an exemption in California from the EPA. They don't really have the right to grant that, but they have for many years. Interestingly enough, we were on airplanes sitting in the airport, ready to fly to California to go to the California Air Resources Board hearing to testify that EPA shouldn't be able to give California an exemption to do whatever the heck they want. Word got out that several of us were coming because you have to register to go talk to them. Guess what happened to the meeting? Suddenly canceled, not yet rescheduled. Huh. I don't think they thought we were coming. And the industry aligned up against them and said, yeah, what you're telling motorcyclists to do, what you're telling Harley Davidson and Polaris and Indian and Triumph and whoever else to do, we can't do. We can't meet those standards if they come out with what you're suggesting. So when the user community, the advocates say we can't do it, it's not acceptable to us, and the industry says, yeah, we probably can't do it either, well, that's 2 against 1. So we hurt their feelings, they canceled the meeting, we're waiting for them to reschedule it. And then right to repair, critically important. Gotta be, like again, if you have a 95 Evo, and they take that tuner away from you, and Harley doesn't service vehicles or make parts for vehicles more than 10 years old, what are you gonna do? Go to Chopper's house, I guess, and get some extra parts?
As I can now.
Well, I would suggest, if you love Evos and you love twin cams, you might wanna put a few parts in the barn just in case.
Shovel heads.
You can still get those parts. Those exist. But yeah, you're right. Put your parts in the bin because they might not be available. Okay. So, good news. Energy and Commerce said we agree. You should be able to repair your motorcycles anywhere you want, and you should be able to get the parts to repair those motorcycles. Now we just need the rest of Congress to agree, and it starts 90% of the time. House of Representatives goes first. And then they throw it over the wall to the Senate. Once in a great while, the Senate goes first, but very, very seldom. So we go to the House first, and we go to the Senate second. Next. Definition of a motorcycle. Kind of weird. We all know what a motorcycle is, right? No? Ever seen something that's sold as a motorcycle with a plate on the back that says motorcycle, or you sit in a bucket seat with a seat belt that has a steering wheel and a gas pedal?
Air conditioning.
That's not a motorcycle. That's a cool vehicle. That's not a motorcycle. Okay? There's a bunch of vehicles being made today that are not motorcycles. How do you train? So I'm talking about the slingshot. Cool vehicle. Can you take a rider education class on how to drive a slingshot? Nope, there isn't one. Can you take a class on how to drive a Harley Davidson trike? Only in a couple states. That's not right. Now that is a motorcycle, by the way, but that definition is 50-some years old. The definition they use today in Washington, D.C., that definition is over 50 years old. And it doesn't work for a whole bunch of vehicles. So we're going to them saying, let's redefine a motorcycle so we can know what to focus on. How do we teach rider education? How do we make sure licensing is secure? How do we make sure statistics, right? If a four-wheel Vanderhaal called a motorcycle tips over, no, that's a really cool little car. That dude flips over in Sturgis. What do they think? What do you think they call that? It's a motorcycle accident. We got enough problems on our own. We don't need Vanderhaals and slingshots and strikers and whatever all they call those things. Again, cool vehicles. Got nothing against them personally. Again, as I said earlier, you want to give me one, I'll ride it around all day. But I won't put a motorcycle plate on it, okay? So we're going to try to redefine that. What is a motorcycle? You straddle it. Has handlebars. Steer, counter steer. 2 or 3 wheels in contact with the ground as designed. As designed being important. And hand controls as designed. So there are folks that modify a motorcycle, been injured, or veterans coming back, been in a motorcycle wreck. They need assisted brakes. They can't operate motorcycles like you and I. Maybe they can't even have handlebars. So, as designed. So that's what we're asking NHTSA to look at. A motorcycle is a vehicle you straddle, sit on, seat, steer, counter steer, foot controls, hand controls as designed by the OEM, 2 or 3 wheels in contact with the ground. That's a motorcycle. And again, why that's important, statistics, safety funding, safety grants, state's safety programs, safety funding, safety grants, statistics, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. We need to keep those clean. Okay, that's why we're doing that. The fuel supply, we're always gonna fight, right? Right now, if you have a Harley Davidson, can you put E15 in it? No, you voided your warranty. You know how many people I've told that to that aren't educated, like we are, and say, what? So I'll walk up to somebody at a pump and say, see the sticker right there that says it's illegal to put that in a motor vehicle or a lawnmower, a small engine? It says right there it's illegal. Can't do that. And I tell them, Steven Seagal's gonna come and kick the pump down and, right? But you will void your warranty if you put E10 in. Now Harley Davidson, I know the guys, I know some of their engineers, they're smart dudes. And they ride a motorcycle 1,000,000 miles around the track in Las Vegas. They have motorcycles down in Atlanta riding around in a circle for 1,000,000 miles. They put them on dynos for millions of miles. They probably know why we shouldn't put E10 or E11 in our motorcycles. Why we shouldn't put E15 in our bikes. They know why. So if Harley tells me I can't do it, I'm pretty sure I probably shouldn't do it, okay? So if the manufacturer says I void my warranty by putting E15 in the bikes, then why is the federal government approving E15 year-round, funding it, supporting it, bolstering it up, encouraging ethanol, and I've got nothing wrong with ethanol, right? You want to grow ethanol, you want to make ethanol, go ahead. Again, back to don't make me use it. Give me E10 or better, right? Make sure E10 or better is available forever. And on our old bikes, Charlie, do they run on E10? No. We have to have pure gas somehow, somewhere. So we fight for our community, and we should be joined by the guys that go to the tractor pulls with their 1945 John Deere A and B tractors, the guys that are running 1945 Evinrude fishing boats. They all need pure gas. So it should be easy to get a coalition started, and that's something we work on pretty frequently, is making sure we're reaching out to anybody that has a stake. We need E10 or better to run Evolution, Twin Cam, and Milwaukee 8 motors. To run anything before that, you should be running pure gas. Or you spend $5 for a little bottle of rocket fuel, and you spill it over yourself when you cut it open, but, okay? So we'll continue to fight this. There's legislation on both sides. Make ethanol, don't make ethanol, make more, make less. I'm not gonna get involved in that debate. We have a lot of our SMROs that are corn states that make a lot of money making ethanol. I don't care, make more, make less, I don't care. We're not into that, we're not gonna debate, should we have ethanol, should we not have ethanol, should the government support it, should they not, I don't care. All I want is pure fuel and less than 10. That's what I care about. Okay, next. This is kind of new. That's a blanket statement. Ensure motorcycles are treated fairly in any new tax system. What does that mean? It could mean toll roads, but it really doesn't. What it means is we fund the federal highway system by gas. Okay? That system was designed when cars got 10 miles to the gallon, and we didn't have electric cars. Now we have cars that get 30, 40, 50 miles a gallon, and we have electric cars. So every gallon of gas you buy, you send the federal government a quarter. Well, what happens if we buy less gas or no gas? How do we fix our roads? And our roads are going to be more beat up with heavy electric vehicles than they are with the cars we have today. So as they decide how they're going to fill that highway trust fund and put billions and billions and billions of dollars into it to fix our roads, fix our bridges, I want to make sure motorcycles are treated fair. My 800-pound motorcycle is not as hard on the road as a 12,000-pound Tesla Cybertruck. So I don't want to pay the same as they pay. And I don't want them putting GPS tracking me. How many guys want to get tracked everywhere you go on your motorcycle? Of course not, right? That's what they're suggesting. Put GPS on your motorcycle, and at the end of the year, they'll find out how many miles you drove, and they'll send you a bill. Nothing could go wrong with that, okay? So that's all that means, right? When they decide how to pay for our roads and our bridges, we just want to make sure motorcycles are treated fairly. So any hearing that involves taxing or tracing or tracking or billing motorcyclists or any road user for that matter, fair. RPM Act, racing. So there's been a couple of bills that came out and said there shouldn't be racing parts, period, because people abuse them. The car, it's not us, it's the car guys. I'm kidding, right? Right, so I'm guessing that you could possibly buy a carburetor for a Harley Davidson twin engine dragster and put it on a street bike. You could do that, or you could buy a NASCAR intake system and put it on your car. Yeah, you can do that. So there's a couple people in Congress that said, hey, we need to put EPA emission standards on all those performance parts as well. Excuse me? That's the whole point of performance, is to not, you put a smog system on a NASCAR, I'd love to see it actually, but that's what we're talking about, right? When these nut jobs come and say, we want to EPA regulate racing parts, and whether we put them on street bikes or not doesn't matter. This is called the NASCAR bill, honestly. And Antron Brown, anybody know who Antron Brown is? Drag racer? He actually came to DC and testified and said, you can't regulate racing parts. It's racing. Again, now how they control not getting them from the race garages to our garages, that's a whole different subject matter. But again, RPM Act, it was introduced, it didn't pass. It got close, it didn't pass the House, so it didn't go in the Senate either. So we're gonna bring it back, but we need more help. This is one where we're gonna make sure we have enough support. We're gonna get the NASCAR guys, we're gonna get the Friday night roundy round racers, we're gonna get the snowmobile racers, the drag racers, the hill climbers, all the guys we can think of in the country to get behind this. It really was the AMA started it, and they called it the NASCAR bill. Didn't get enough support. We jumped on it, of course, but it wasn't our bill. So we want it to be our bill, the Motorcycle Riders Foundation bill, and we'll get all the support we think we need. But we try not to introduce stuff till we're pretty confident it has a chance. The first time the RPM Act went through, it really didn't have enough of a chance. Okay, we worked on it, right, and we supported it, but it wasn't issued like it probably should have been. So continue there. This one, it's our bread and butter. We will oppose any federal helmet law at any time for any reason. Okay? That's who we are. That's the galvanizer. That's why our movement started, helmet laws. Okay? We'll always be on that one. Crash avoidance, so when they come up and they say, hey, we should mandate anti-air lock, or we should mandate anti-lock brakes on motorcycles. No, they shouldn't. One, because they cost several $1,000s. Two, I have a 1999 with anti-lock brakes I can't get a part for. Honest to God, the Harley dealer told me to go to a boneyard. I'm gonna risk my life with a part I get from the boneyard? Excuse me. And then my 1946 stops faster with my Flintstone feet than with the brakes. So if I'm used to slamming on a 2017 Harley that stops like that with anti-lock brakes, and you mandate that for me, and I go to a 1940 and I do my Flintstone, I'm in trouble, okay? So I don't want to be told what my motorcycle looks like. The option? Absolutely, give me the option, but don't make me buy it, don't make me have it. Airbags, motorcycle airbags are coming back. Air vest, Harley Davidson has one. You fall down and it goes poof. I haven't seen anybody wear one yet. And if I do, I'm gonna go punch him in the kidney and see if I can get it to pop up, because I think that'd be hilarious. In a bar, seeing the guy doing this with his vest popped off. But they're talking leg protectors, they're talking air vests, they're talking airbags on your motorcycle, right? That costs money. And what happens if you 15 miles an hour, you pop into a picnic table after the 37th annual Get Naked run, and that airbag goes off? What do you think that's gonna cost to fix? And with the supply chain issues we're facing in the world today, how long does that take to fix? Or is that just totaled out and you start over? Okay? So we're talking about crash avoidance. If I don't fall down, I'm pretty sure I'm not going to get hurt. If I fall down, you can't guarantee I'm going to be safe, whether it's a helmet, gloves, boots, airbags, air protectors, leg protectors, you can't guarantee that. So I got a good solution. Don't try to make me crash safe. Help me with crash avoidance. Hold vehicle drivers responsible. Tell them to get off their cell phones. And you know how fast Verizon could turn this off if you're going 40 miles an hour? It'd take about that long. So why don't they? Okay? That's what they should focus on. Right-of-way violation, training drivers to pay attention, making sure autonomous vehicles actually are safe around us. Right? Train me. I give you a whole bunch of money every time I buy a license plate. Give me money back to train myself and to train my community, our community, okay? Crash avoidance, not safe crashing, okay? And then we're never gonna give up on black box and data recording. They're there, your phone has it, every car you have has it. They don't even need your phone anymore. You can't go anywhere hardly in the United States without someone taking a picture of you somewhere.
They've been able to do that since 2017. I won't have one that year.
Yeah, they can. Every car has it. But again, you go riding through a city and your picture's been taken a whole bunch of times. Where I live, unless they got one in the pine tree, in the pickers, I probably don't have one. But if I drive into town, I'm on the camera. They know where I'm at when I'm there. So it isn't about whether or not black boxes and data recorders exist. That's mine. It's on my vehicle. Now, if I'm in public and they take a picture of me on the corner, that's theirs. It is what it is. But if it's in my vehicle, I don't need them knowing how fast I ride, how many G's I hit when I take a corner. If somebody's had too much to drink and they wobbly ride home and they decide you had too much to drink and it's the accident's your fault, okay? That's mine. That's not yours, that's not the insurance company's, that's not the cops, that's mine. So we always look out for avenues to make sure that we know that that ownership is ours. Not a bill on it, it's just a talking point, right? So folks that are in the judicial committees in DC, folks in Homeland Security, we want to have conversations with them to make sure that we want that data to be ours. And if we see somebody trying to get it, like a Patriot Act coming at us again or something like that, we're probably gonna then jump up and start punching, okay? But we want them to know we're watching and it's important to us. Nice. So that's it. That's what happened. So when we talked about this morning, what's the future of motorcycling? Why do we need to get to work? Why do we need to unite? This is how. That was the why. This is the how. This is how we're gonna do it. This is what we're doing. And when you support the MRF, you support your MRO, your confederation and coalition has a legislative agenda component of your meetings. You come to NCOM, you come to NCOC, or any of the combination of those meetings, you take it back and you talk to your people. That's what we're talking about, what you just saw. That's why we do what we do, and that's why we need not 10,000 people doing this, 100,000 people doing this, a couple 100,000 people doing this. It would be really easy. Thinking what we've accomplished with the amount of resources we put in this effort, if we doubled, tripled that, quadrupled that, which is reasonable in my eyes, think how much easier that would be. So that's what the MRF's doing. That's what your support of the MRF, of NCOM, of NCOC, of ABATE, of your club, your coalition, your confederation, when you support that, that's what you're supporting. So spread the gospel. Everybody should become preachers. I got a little Jesus, I'm preaching. Everybody preach, right? Preach this stuff. Thank you.
The creating of broader alliances with common cause here, I kind of had a thought here, you know, it's sort of in the odd place. You take a heavily climate, anti-climate